All right, so we are joined by WJTV morning anchor, one of the most talented and one of the funniest people in the business, and also a up and coming comedian with her recent opening act for Rita Brent, Kayla Thompson. Thank you so much. We got a room full here at Velma Jackson High School. We're in the Arts AV career cluster, and we're recording this for our friends at Rosa Scott, Ridgeland, Germantown, the Academic Options Center, and for our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for taking some time for us today. And I know, to me at least, you have one of the most interesting jobs there is, because it's not just being in front of a camera. It's a lot of technical, a lot of technology involved, a lot of writing, and a lot of communication. So before we get into what you do and all the stuff that goes into a newscast, tell us a little bit about your college path. I know you're a graduate of Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
And then you matriculated your way down here to Jackson.
Yes. I need to switch my sweatshirt. I have a Jackson State sweatshirt now, but so basically, and excuse me if I sniffle or anything during this. I'm off sick today, but I didn't want to leave y'all hanging. So here I am, and you're just gonna have to take me sniffles and all. But so I actually grew up here. I went to North Rankin High School. Then that translated me over to Jacksonville State, where I played soccer and ran track all 4 years. So back in high school, we had like the list of the greatest of all time. I'm actually in Jacksonville State's list. So for the Eagle Owl Award for community service, athletics, leadership, all of that, I'm one of very few people on that list. So that's important because it's gonna explain why I am the way I am now and how I use those skills coming up in college to basically create the foundation for who and how I am today. So sports have always been my life since I was like 3 years old, played soccer. Then I decided one day, like eighth or ninth grade year, I decided I wanted to be on the track team. Ended up getting on the track team, translated to a scholarship. So I've got parents that push and I push for myself as well. So all of that I hope to explain and, encourage you guys as you move forward, regardless of your circumstances.
Yeah. And then after Jacksonville State, you went to WTVA in Tupelo, because my dad used to watch you on WTVA. He lives in Tupelo. So talk a little bit about that. You went from Jacksonville State to a small market, and then came to Jackson here on WJTV.
Yeah, so without telling too much detail, I actually didn't think I was going to get into news immediately. I thought I was going to go play soccer somewhere else. But then I hurt myself, and then life happened. So that didn't happen. So we ended up having this crazy tornado, which is wild because, again, kind of like my life, it's going to make sense. And you always notice that something is setting you up, some situation is setting you up for something greater, and you're already prepared for it. So I was not prepared at the time, leaving Jacksonville State technically to get into news. Like I knew all the aspects, but nothing works better than real world experience. And that's not even just an internship. Sometimes just going out there and being tried by the fire is some of the best, things that can happen to you. So we had a tornado my senior year of college at Jacksonville State. We didn't know if we were going to actually have a graduation ceremony. So everybody trying to get their lives together, trying to figure out what we're doing next. We don't even know if we're walking. We might just have to get our diplomas in the mail. It's not a diploma. What's it called? A degree in the mail. There we go. And so we're like, well, what in the world is going to happen to us? So after the tornado, one of my best friends, actually, her apartment was sliced in half as as a casualty of the tornado. Like she lost her apartment. She didn't lose everything, but she did lose like a major apartment. So she couldn't stay there for the last 2 months or so while we were in school. And I remember we came here as like a month and some change that we like weren't able to return. But I was playing sports at the time, so she still had to go back. It was a lot. So I asked her, could I do a story on her? Because I was trying to get my reel together, trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And I know you have to have a reel to get into this industry, like something, you got to show something. So I was like, okay, here's the real world experience that I need. So I did a story on her. It wasn't the greatest story ever, but the nuggets were there, you know what I mean, to be able to use it to help get a job. And that did help me get a job in Tupelo. So in Tupelo, I was able to have a boss, which I'll never forget, Mike Raphael. I'm very appreciative for him because he's very critical to the way that I am now. So he took the time to like coach us and teach us, and now he's telling me all the time, you got to coach up kids, you got to teach. And I don't really want to coach and teach, but I know that that's what we're supposed to be doing, because so many people are coming into the industry now and really don't know, because classroom experience is cool. But again, till you get tried by the fire, you actually go out here on your first crime scene, you go out here in your first big story of politics, whatever it is, and you are not prepared, then what are you gonna do? So he prepared us, yeah. And I was a morning reporter at the time, so I did fire after fire. It felt like fires every day for at least my first 2 months. They taught us how to produce. So what I learned at that station, which I already kind of knew that you should be doing, but especially learned at that station, is that you should know every part of everything that helps make you do your job effectively. So I learned what directors do. I learned how to produce. I was a producer. Nobody knows that. And that's why people always try to buck against me when I'm like talking about stuff on the newscast. And I'm like, no, I think this should go here, or how it should be, flow and all this stuff. Because I know it, because I had to do it. And he made sure, even if you're a reporter, you're going to learn how to write. You're going to learn how to produce a show. You're going to learn how to do all these things. So I'm grateful for that, because those skills still translated to helping you become your best. And now, again, on the set every morning, I can sit there and say confidently, I don't think this should be here. I think this should go here. And this is not the flow. Why are we talking about some crime that's in Biloxi that no one cares about specifically for our station in our area? Why don't we switch it out for something else? And you should be able to say that boldly, knowing that you know what you're talking about, because you know what you're talking about. If that makes sense.
Yep. And now you're the morning anchor on WJTV, and we were just watching a clip of one of my favorites, one of my favorite people in the industry, Shanae Agumake, who's plays in WNBA, but also gets up very early to be an NBA analyst on the ESPN. And that's what people don't realize. The news industry does have one of the earliest start times of any industry. Y'all always joke about, we'll see you dark and early. So talk a little bit about the schedule of a news station, because there literally are people there 24 hours a day.
Yeah, we have to beat you up. That's the thing. That's what people should always remember. We have to beat you. We have to be ready. So when you cut the TV on, there's somebody sitting there. Now we're getting it ready. We might be rubbing our eyes too when you can't see us. But here we are. As soon as you cut the TV on, we're ready to rock and roll. So for my shift, it would be get up every day at 2:45. Really, 3:25 is my final alarm. Like, you're gonna be late. What are you doing? You have jobs. Yeah, that. So 3:25 every day, I'm up. 4:00 I'm at work. 4:30 the show starts, and then my shift ends at 12:30. So that's the first. It's the early risers. Okay. So then you've got us to the 9:30 to 6:30, which would be the dayside people. So the folks you see at 4, 5, and 6, but not the anchors. The anchors don't come in until 2 to 11. And then that's your 10 p.m., your 9 and 10. So if that makes sense. So there's people all in between each gap. But yeah, at all points in time in the day, there is somebody at the station doing something.
Yeah, and then when the news is on the air, about how many people are working? Because obviously you're not running the camera and doing the sound all by yourself, even though you do have experience in that. How many people are working during a typical newscast?
That's funny. We're not going to use my newscast because I do run around and help with other stuff. So we're going to use typically on a 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Okay, 5 o'clock show. You've got 2 anchors. So 2 anchors, 1 solid producer, 1 like technical, but they kind of all work together to put like whatever was in the 4 that was newsworthy, they're going to take it probably and put a little bit of that in 5. You got reporters depending on how many you have in the day. We sometimes only have 1 or 2 dayside reporters because times are just crazy for everybody. Every industry needs somebody. But like if we showed you a newsroom compared to when I first started versus now, you'd be like, what happened? Like, what happened to everybody? It used to be 50 folks walking around. Now it's like 10. So that's kind of how it is. But you have at least, I would say, at least 10 hands on deck for the 5 and 6 o'clock show.
Wow.
If that makes sense. So every reporter is responsible for content. So while the producer may be putting it in, ultimately they're not having to deal with every single part of the show. Does that make sense? Like if you were a producer, you're supposed to put what I put in the show, but you can't tell me to readjust. You really don't know what I have until you see it as well as a reporter.
Yep. And also, you know, and one thing that, and you talked about learning every aspect, you know, for people that want to break into this industry, one thing that's important is, you know how to run a camera, you know how to edit your pieces, you know how to handle your sound. And then at the end of the day, when that red light comes on, you're ready to go live on television. So how did all those skills mix? Because I don't think people realize about all that stuff that combines for a good news person.
Ooh, so learning every part of the industry is important, but I think I'm gonna answer that in a different way. What type of personality traits do you have to technically be on TV? That's a good question. Like that's better for the flow, because anybody, honestly, anybody who hustles hard can make it in this industry. While it may be cutthroat, and while it may be all about, you know, connections, and sometimes your work may be phenomenal, but then nobody sees it, and then what? You know, I battled that a lot. You know what I mean? So you got to be able to kind of be a little crazy to be in news, because it's nonstop. I love when folks come in for internships and they're like, so when do we go to lunch? And we all start laughing, because what is lunch? Like, what is lunch? Like, if the work ain't done yet, ain't no lunch. You know what I mean? So you've got to be a go-getter. You got to be somebody who's quick on their feet, somebody who's willing to talk to people. And even if you don't have necessarily, you know, amazing communication skills, you're able to get people to connect with you, then you're going to do well. If you're one of those people that, like, if something is wrong, you're not going to sit here and ask 3 times, hey, who's going to fix it? You're going to step in and fix it, then you're going to make it. If you're one of those folks that day in and day out, you see something and you're like, well, why does no one talk about it? But you don't want to talk about it, don't get in this industry, because those are the gaps we have to fill. When people say, well, why y'all always talking about negative news? Why ain't never nothing positive? Well, where are the folks that want to do the positive news? You know what I mean? And while it is a fight to get the positive news on, like, at the same time, if nobody's making the proper adjustments or the push and the want to try and find the positive news, it's never going to happen. So you gotta kind of buck against the system. You gotta be a little bit of a rebel to be, you know what I mean, in the industry. Because 85 people.
And I think that's what makes you stand out as a reporter and as an anchor, is because you know, even though you do the serious stories, you like to have fun with it. You like to dress up in the outfits, and we like the one where you use the security camera to film your story on the break-in. You dressed as a firefighter, you dressed as a plant worker, you played soccer with the Tougaloo soccer team. So you've done some really fun stuff that connects the community. So how does all that tie into also reporting the serious news?
Ooh, so actually I started doing an influx in the negative because I was, well, an influx in the positive because I was good at the negative. And I tell my bosses this all the time. They're like, you know, when you were reporting, we didn't have to, you know, tell you all the time to go do your story, but we did have to push you to make you want. But you got to think, somebody comes to crime every day, right? And let's really think about this. Somebody just got shot. Somebody just got killed. There is a reporter that always has to do those stories. And at a time, that was me. And everybody's like, well, you're so happy, but you're good at it. I might be good at it, but it doesn't mean I want to be surrounded by that every day. Someone's like, mom is crying. The family's like broken. Like, even my uncle was shot and killed, you know, while we're out here. And I'm like, well, what in the world? You know what I mean? Nobody wants to cover that all the time. So if I know I don't want to cover it all the time, I know people don't want to watch it all the time. So again, it comes into where are the people that want to try to do the positive stuff. Like, I created an art series last year, and let's be real about it. You might say, I want to see the positive, but when we put the positive in front of folks, sometimes they aren't willing to just sit down and watch it the same way. If I told you somebody just got shot down the street, you're going to share it, you're going to post it, you're going to talk about it. And so that's on, you know, that's on us, and that's on y'all as well, is that we have to follow the flow. And if y'all say you want to see the negative, then unfortunately that's what we got to do.
Yeah. And also, but you've also covered some really cool stuff. You got to cover the World Games in Birmingham, which I wanted to go to so bad. It looked like so much fun. You've gotten to interview some big time. You've interviewed Bianca Knight, the gold medalist. You've interviewed Tamela Mann, and then recently, because of your personality, you got to open up for our friend Rita Brent as well. So Talk a little bit about that, because that's super cool getting to meet some of these. Oh, and you got a great relationship with Deion Sanders. So talk a little about some of the people you got to mingle with and some of the events you got to see, because when you do that, you got the best seat in the house.
True. That's the whole thing about bucking against the system. Like, you know what I mean? Like we can go with the flow. We can say, you know, what does the World Games have to do with us, right? And I'm gonna just go ahead and stop, because I pitched like my life depended on it. Because again, you've got situations where it's like, is that really what the people want to see? You're like, but I can make it what they want to see. I mean, the whole world is right up the street, and we're not gonna, like, I went in on the office, like, let me tell you, we gotta go. And when they told us we could, we were like, listen, this is our chance to make sure that everything that we come back with is top notch. So it's always fun to me, but it's hard because sometimes I wish like things would just be easy, that they would be like, oh yeah, go cover the Saints game. Oh yeah, cover the World Games. But it doesn't always work like that. But when they do give you a chance, you better rock it. Yeah. You better rock it.
Yeah, and then and also something else that is just so funny is you have some of the funniest pictures you post on social media of you on the green screen. So where did it makes it look like you're out at the reservoir. So you don't see a lot of news people do that. So where does that idea come from? Because people, and you got some amazing anchors there at WJTV, Byron Brown, Melanie Christopher, just two of the most professional in the business, but they don't have that same personality. So why is that personality important in a news industry that has had so many just straight-laced, professional, serious, no smile people?
I don't know. I think that's a question for you to answer for me, because a lot of times I get called unprofessional. But the thing is, people are tired of suppressing who they are. Sometimes it's just goof. You know what I mean? It's morning TV. Like, we're probably telling you about some things that aren't so sunshine and rainbows, but every now and then, like, we all laugh. And that's the thing. I wish that more people felt comfortable being who they truly are on the camera. And some folks outright, if I'm just being real, some folks don't know who they are. So they can't joke with you, because they have to keep that serious demeanor at all times, because that's who they told themselves they are. I know I'm goofy. I know I'm a laugh. You know what I mean? I know I'm a crack up at certain things. So why not share that with the community that allows me the opportunity? Now, if I have viewers that really didn't play like that, you know what I mean, then it'd be different.
Yeah, and one thing that you've kind of gotten the stick for is all your corny jokes. But like we said, that led you getting to open for Rita Brent recently. So talk a little bit about that experience, because she's come and visited to the class before she really took off. So talk about how that all works and how you got to do that. That looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I love me some Rita B. I think she's one of the greatest. People always tell me that we look alike. I don't think we look alike, but we are the same height, and she's fun. She's way funnier than I am. But I started telling corny jokes, actually as a way to get comfortable as an anchor, because I wasn't. So people thought it was like, oh, this has always been you. No, first time I ever told a corny joke on TV, it was because I was so uptight in the broadcast, and it was like one of my third or fourth shows. I was like, my parents were like, you look terrified. And I was like, I was, but I knew if I laughed that I would relax. So if I could make y'all just as goofy as I was, to just be like, okay, let's lower the whole serious thing, and let's have some grace, then we can have fun. And so it just became something that folks started asking for all the time. Sometimes I'm walking in the grocery store and people just walk up, tell me a joke, and I'm like, okay, you send me jokes. Like, it's become a thing, and I appreciate that. But the funniest part about it is I really did it because I was just uncomfortable. That was it. It was a joke for me to be like, woo. And I don't even remember what the first one was, but it was terrible. And I love seeing people's reactions to a bad joke. Like, why are you mad that the joke was bad? It was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because I think some of them are so bad they're hilarious, and I laugh out loud at it.
That's it.
My favorite was the one about August.
That was an original. I just want to let you know. Some of them I don't write. Some of them, like, people sent in, I just throw them up there, or some, like, I get on the website. But that one was one that I wrote myself on the set one day, and I was like, may as well.
Well, I do have some questions from the students, and I've got mainly ninth graders in here with me today. This first one is, and you kind of just talked about this. This is London Lights, And she asked, when you first started, were you nervous being in front of a camera?
What's up, girl? No, I wasn't nervous. Being in front of the camera, I was nervous about how it would come off because we have to think about 75 million things. Am I gonna remember my script? Am I gonna remember where I am? Because in my last job, no lie, this is what we used to have to say. Live from Tishomingo County, Kayla Thompson, WTVA 9 News Today on WLOV. That is way too much for anybody to say. So I'm standing outside of a house fire. I have to tell you everything that I saw and be right and try not to look down at my script because that was always my thing. I didn't really want to look at my notes. And then I got to remember to finish the line. There were so many times I would have a perfect live shot and then I would get to the end and be like, I don't even remember what station. What time is it? And it switched. So you had to say like WTVA 9 News and then WTVA 9 News Today on WLOV. Huh? Like, what? So that part made me nervous, but I still get nervous sometimes on camera today about how is this gonna be received? How can I do my best? And I think if you're not nervous, then that's when you have a problem. You know what I mean? You really don't care about it anymore. But when you start getting good, then you won't really, you know what I mean? Like it's a balance of, yeah, I'm still nervous. Sometimes I'm not.
Yeah. And then, even if you aren't feeling good, if you're not having a good day, when that red light comes on, the people watching don't care about that.
Nope. And they message.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah. This is Donovan Smith, and he asked, what are some of your favorite things to cover and why?
Hey, as of late, it's really been, I'm gonna just call it peculiar stuff. Like the unusual. I love covering the unusual. And I think that would be your hot air balloon rides. Why are we up here? I'll never know, but that's what we're doing. Everybody thinks that, I was gonna answer celebrities. Let me tell you why I enjoy celebrities, but I also don't, is because while they may be fun to talk to, I've at least been stood up about 45 times. So it's you know what I mean? It's a give and take. So when you're gonna do this, you gotta be willing to accept that everybody ain't gonna respect your time and everybody's not gonna show up sometimes. Yeah. But I love it all. I really just like TV. I like news. I like entertainment. That's really just my jam.
Yeah, because that's a good point, because at the end of the day, even though you are focusing on communication and getting the story out, at the end of the day, it's a television show. So you could be reporting great stuff, but if you can't entertain the audience at least somewhat, you're not going to have people to watch you.
I'm a screenshot that. I need to send that to some folk. Keep that part. Put a pin all around what you just said, because I scream about that all the time. Yes, we are supposed to inform, but if it's not entertaining in the least bit, I'm changing the channel.
Absolutely. And I think that's important for people to understand that, if we have young people that are thinking about getting into news, you can be a great reporter, but you got to have at least some type of personality. There has to be some type of engagement with the audience. So you can't just be about, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. You may be able to ask great questions. You may be able to edit a great story, but if you can't at least have some personality in your delivery, it's very tough to engage a viewing audience.
Talk good, Mr. Greg. You talking good.
I know what I'm talking about sometime. This is Aiden Owens, and he asked, has your job ever made you feel like you couldn't do it? And how did you handle that?
Whew. Great question. I kind of feel like that now. Every time I tell people about this industry, man, that's a good question. Because now you're gonna make me reveal my heart. Every time you think about this industry, think about how in high school you have a test, right? Like almost every week or almost every month, and you think you've got it, but then the next time you turn around, there's always something, and there's a bigger mountain for you to climb. That's what this is. This is for people who hate deadlines. Don't do this. Don't do this at all. Because you got a deadline every single day. You got to push till you can't push anymore. And sometimes wear and tear on your body is like, look, enough. Right. I don't think I can do this anymore. I don't think I can manage. I've literally been wrestling with those thoughts. Like, I feel like I done gave it all I could give, and but it's just because foolishness sometimes overrides the journey and the joy of the journey.
Yeah.
And so in the midst of all of that, it's like you got to go back to the center and say, okay, what is my purpose? What is my why? Why do I get up every day to do this job? And I can tell you, for me, what's so special about being a morning anchor is that I have the opportunity. I've been graced with the opportunity to help you start your day and set the tone for everything. It doesn't matter. It could be one corny joke that changed your perspective on the day. And if I could help you do that, then I'm doing the right thing. If I can make you feel better about your community and see that there's way more out here than just violence and crime and hatred and anger, then I'm doing my job. And so while you sometimes want to quit almost every other 2 weeks, you got to remember that. And I mean, no matter what industry y'all get in, please figure out why. Are you trying to solve a problem? Are you trying to be famous? Because if you're trying to be famous in news, it's not for you, because you're not going to last. Because once the crap starts, you be ready to. And even when, you don't just want to be famous, you care about your job, you're still going to want to throw up the deuces every now and then.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's
Maybe even some middle fingers too.
Anybody who says they haven't want to throw up the deuces in their job and they've been there a while is lying to you.
They're definitely lying.
This is Kaylee Luckett. She's one of our cheerleaders here at Velma Jackson. And she asked, how has this career grown positively over the years?
For me or for everybody else?
Just in the field in general.
Okay, diversity, yeah, because we're more accepting of people's in our newsrooms. We can see that, our bosses and corporations are more accepting of different people and how they flow, and like there's not so much I have to appear to be this. There's so many different walks of life, and there's going to be that anyway, but now you feel a space where sometimes, and I'm trying to be politically correct about answering this question, where you don't feel that you belong. And to a certain degree, I can say in every newsroom that I've been in, I've found a home, a way to belong, you know what I mean? Or people who could understand my experiences as a Black woman in the United States who is young and trying to make it. Like, I feel like we're doing better to have more of my folks and other folks who don't even look like me, but deal with the same reality. I'm just trying to make it. I think we're doing better about presenting everyone and their realities and their beliefs on, in our stories.
Yeah, and at the same time, how has technology advanced? Because obviously, Scotland, when she was there, showed us some of the stuff that she was dealing with. You got state-of-the-art equipment that these news stations have that you have to constantly be trained on. So talk a little bit about how the technology's advanced.
So that's annoying because we do have trainings every now and then. Everybody's always sitting in the training. but so things are always changing around us. It's just kind of like, it's like the new app that comes out. Everybody's on this new app. Oh, I gotta learn how to do this new app. And then you got the older people that are like, what is this app? This app is not for me. I do not care about this app. Then you got folks who are like, but I can make money on this app. So they're, and then you've got other folks who are like, I don't need any more social media. I've had enough. That's literally how it is in our newsroom. Some folks will take to the new technology and the 4K cameras and the editing styles. Then you got your old folks, which I could be considered old sometimes. I don't want to do all that. That's keep it basic. It's always something new to learn and some new technology, some new editing software, some new something. And then of course with content creators, that changes the game for us because now we have to play a social media game that we used to not have to play.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I've heard some of your other local anchors say that's one of their biggest challenges is because when they first got in the game, it wasn't like that. And now their producers are wanting to be more and more active. And they say, I don't mind, but man, it's confusing.
So here's the thing. Going back to the photos that you talked about, and you're on my page, so if I post an article right now, people really aren't gonna say too much about it. But if I post myself with a nice sunrise sitting on top of the Coliseum, people are gonna respond, and then I can talk to you about whatever else I want to talk to you about for that. But just posting a link ain't gonna work. So it's all about learning how do you engage people even after. And sometimes I can't even respond to the comments, but at least we talking. You know what I mean? and that's just what it is.
Or my favorite picture all time of you was the one with the lightsabers on May the 4th. So you drew to the Star Wars crowd that day.
Oh my goodness.
This is a good one here. This is Control Charleston, and he asked, "Is it hard to get used to communicating with other people that you have on the set or live during the broadcast?"
Is it hard communicating with people in the classroom right now? It's always hard to communicate because people hear one thing and then they might take it another way. So it's always about, and especially we are in situations where ain't no sweet talk most of the time. Like we got to get moving. We got 2 minutes to figure out how to get something together, come back on the set, smile, and get ready. Like, so sometimes you have to check your attitude. I hate to say that word, but you got to check that at the door when you come in because you don't know what else people got. And then a lot of folks in this industry bring what they're dealing with at home to work because you never really get time sometimes to just separate the two. It just all meshes together. So you got folks screaming about coffee and you're like, what? And you have to realize they ain't got nothing to do with me. So communication is across the board. It's always going to be a problem. And that's what we laugh about is because we're communicators, but we don't do it well with each other.
Yeah, and then if you're interviewing multiple people, obviously you're going to have multiple types of personalities. Especially when you talk about the celebrities. I mean, even though it is cool to talk to them, none of them are the same. So it's you really got to be professional and knowing how to ask. Just got one more from the students. This is Shania Charleston, and she asked, "What was the main thing that convinced you to get into this field?"
The ability to help people through stories, through TV, and entertain them. So basically all of kind of what I was saying earlier, what I feel like my purpose is in the morning, what my prayer is like, let them see you through me and let me help someone's day be better. So what makes me stay in this job is that I've seen the power of my stories helping someone else. I've seen a lady who, during the water crisis, her house was flooded. We helped her. We did a story with this woman. Somebody donated a roof just off the strength of, I love you, as in me. I watch you all the time. You did the story. Here, I'm coming to help. So I've seen what that can do. And when you see that, and when you see people being so appreciative, I've even had a lady call me over the last 2 years that I've been here. I did a story on her when I first got here about a pothole in front of her house that nobody would fill. They came out there, they filled the pothole the next day. She has left me a voicemail consistently telling me I'm still out here just excited about my new paved road. So, you know what I mean? It's the simplest stuff like that keeps you like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, it don't matter about what Pookie and Ray Ray said in the newsroom or how they feel about me on the set. At the end of the day, I know what my purpose is, and I know what my job is, and I know why I'm here in this moment.
That's awesome. So, well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us. But before we go, let these young people know, we had the Multimedia Academy here at Velma Jackson. They have it at Madison Central and at the Career Center over at Germantown. Why does the news industry need these young people, especially these females, to get in here and diversify this field? Because it is, like you said, it's always growing, and we need young people that are trained on the new technology. So why should they really consider getting into this field especially to getting experience with it now?
Well, definitely, like you said, with the technology, you guys know social media like it's the back of your hand. So there's that part. You can come in with an upper hand, and if you can make your social media presence become journalism and like translate that well and get your stories pushing out there, then you're already starting off in the right foot. As far as why you should go ahead and try and join this industry, and if you checked off the list of what I said earlier about what you need to have and you can do that, then come on, let's ride, because we do need folks who can provide a different experience. Like, while you guys are young now, get into some of these newsrooms, ask for an internship while you're in high school and start telling them some of the things that y'all are dealing with. And then that will help them translate to new projects, new things, because we don't know what's going on in the high school. We're not there. Most of us, we don't have kids. We're too young to have high school kids. So you're definitely not, you know what I mean? You're not, there's a space for you there right now. And there's a space for you in college. And there's a space for you when you're out of college. Just find your voice, figure out what your purpose is in this industry, what your stories are that you want to tell, and what problem you want to help solve in the long run. And let's ride. That's all I had to say. Come on, get in here. Come on, get in. But do it because you want to do it, not because you want to be famous.
Yeah.
That's it.
I agree, but you are internet famous. And Kayla Thompson, great Facebook follow. Kayla Thompson TV on Facebook and Instagram. One of the funniest people on social media. I promise you won't regret it, but also very talented, very professional journalist. And we thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate you. This was fun.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Well, you cover the story. Now you're part of the story. So we're glad you got to see both sides of it.
Right. Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
All right.
See ya.